Okay, so let us say we have some XYZ restaurant in CP in Delhi. Okay, and this restaurant is basically trying to improve their customer service. So now, as we have seen in the previous three examples, the method to do this is going to be quite similar. So the method to do this will be quite similar. We look at how you exactly look at a restaurant, what are the factors that you consider while going to a restaurant, and what is the life cycle of a person who is going to a restaurant for the period of that particular event, right? So you could start off with parking. Ideally, in such a case, because we have become more tech savvy, I would say the first step could be looking up Zomato, right? So you get your directions from Zomato, you get your reviews from Zomato, you even at a lot of times look at the menu and decide what to eat from Zomato, right? So first step could be looking up on Zomato. Second would be reaching by whatever conveyance. If you have a car, let's say parking, you reach the restaurant, waiting. After waiting, let's say you finally find a table, finding table. You look at the menu and ordering, menu and order. You wait some more for the food to come. You consume, you pay, and you leave, exit. Right? So these are the steps involved. Now, this is a very broad process. Not all the steps will be relevant in all the situations. If let us say someone was reaching CP by metro, for that individual parking might not be a relevant step, or someone who's never heard of this restaurant before and just sees that while doing shopping at CP might not feel that this step is relevant, right? So the idea here is not to debate about which step is important, which step is not. That you will understand in the interview depending upon the information you already have, right? But it is useful to know that what we do is we start again from t is equal to 0, the very first step that is involved, till the final step, which would usually be exit or the end of that particular life cycle of that event. Okay. So now we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 steps that we have here, right? And now if you were to, let's say that if we go back to the problem we had, if we had to come up with 20 recommendations. Now the problem is not just listing down 20 things. The problem is quite straightforward. We already have 10 headings. If we can even come up with 2 recommendations at each level, we would be sorted. We would have 20 recommendations. And just like the Naxal problem, we would try to see, okay, if we have to look at which recommendation to implement first, or even out of the superset of 20, which 5 to implement initially, all we would do is, we will basically see 2 things. We'll see the impact and we'll see the resource, right? This would be both in terms of time, money, and money would definitely include labor and expertise and all those things, right? So with all of these, with the impact of the resources, we'll get a very good sense of the feasibility of that particular step, right? So before we go on further, let's just look at 1 or 2 things, right? So let us say parking, right? So parking is an issue at CP at all times. So if we are an upscale restaurant, maybe we could talk to the people who handle the parking there and maybe have 10 or 15 spots reserved for us in the evenings or especially on the weekends, to ensure that the people who are coming to our restaurant don't have a problem finding a parking, right? So that could be one way that you could address this issue. Let us say that once people enter the restaurant, especially on weekends in the evenings, we have a high waiting period, but right now we don't have a very good wait room. So we could establish wait room. We could see that whether any refreshments have to be provided. If we have enough space, can we have a small place for kids to play while they are waiting? So if a kids room is possible, right? So right now we're not looking at the specific recommendations. The idea that we have to see is with this powerful tool, we can come up with any number of recommendations that we want. If instead of 20, maybe I had to go for 50, then I might have to break down these 10 steps further down into much smaller 15 or 20 slices and then look at 1 or 2 or 3 recommendations at each slice.